Hello my friends, welcome back to another lesson more about chord variety. Today we're going to look at the chords we know as slash chords. So slash chords are also known as compound chords or slashed chords basically. So we've looked at slashed chords before in chord inversions, but today we are zeroing in specifically on slashed chords. What are slashed chords? So slashed chords are chords that do not specifically begin with the root. These are chords that can have any other note in the bass. So it may not specifically have to even be in that. For example, if it's a C chord, I can even put the F in the root. So that means I'll be having a C chord over F. So that slash, so this would be called C slash F. So I would have, if I'm to play it together, I would have it. Or I can have it. That would be C slash G or C slash F. Depends on what I want to create. Remember I told you about music, it's about creating tension and resolving it. So if I want to create tension, I can introduce a foreign note. I want to create that tension and then I resolve it. Yeah, so it can be any other note other than the root. So those are slash chords. These slash chords, the way they are written is, a later before and then after. I think you have seen them before. Of course, if you've been following along, you've seen them. I've discussed them in chord inversions. Just like I've told you, today we are zeroing in on them. So we look at, for example, this C chord. C, we can have different shapes. We can have the chord begin with the root, and that would be basically the basic structure. I can have this chord beginning with a third in the root. So what the chord basically means, if you find a chord when you find C slash E, this is what it means. It means that the chord, the first letter belongs to the chord, and then the note after the slash tells you which note is at the bottom or in the bass. So I have C slash E. Or I can have the fifth be in the root. And hear how heavy it sounds. So then that would be C slash G. So I have that in the root. So the composer tells you what note they basically want in the root, or you can decide which note you want in the root. Yeah. Then, so those are slash chords. But like I said, you can also decide to start with a note that is not even in the structure of the chord. Depends on what you want to create. So one of the reasons why this is so important, the use of slash chords, is that it makes naming of certain complex chords in certain styles much more smooth. It can help you with different factors like we are going to see. So that's why I'm emphasizing the fact that it may not necessarily be part of the root note, or the bass note may not necessarily be part of the the chord structure, but you want to create something. So it is very important, especially for some complex styles like jazz and other fusion styles. So what is the purpose of slash chords? One, these slash chords help us to invert chords, hence creating different voicings and harmonic colors you can hear. Yeah. Another purpose of these chords is that they create smooth bass lines and produce smooth transitions between chords. This makes the progression more fluid and continuous. For example, in my intro, you saw me doing so from C to G over B to G minor over B flat, A minor 7 to A minor 7 to G over C, so that transition is much more smooth compared to if I was playing each chord separately from C, let's say C to G, then to G minor, something like that. It's, you know, a bit more smooth, more fluid, more continuous and beautiful. This way of playing simplifies chords, like, you know, chords that would otherwise seem complex. So for example, if I say G over, you know, G minor over, so you think of G minor and all that, but if I'm using, you know, these transitions, the chords sound simpler. For example, you can think, hey, no way, there's no way that can be G, but this is G, simply. And this is G minor over B, right? Because of this. So, because this is in itself is G. So if I lower this, it makes it G, this is B flat, so that is G minor. Like, no way. A minor 7 or strictly A minor, then of course to G or C over. So because I was just here A minor 7 and I just add this note, and it all of a sudden turns into C over G, right? So it simplifies chords that would otherwise sound complex. So let's look at some examples of chords. We've looked at C over E, C over C slash E, C slash G, and then we've also said we can put that. So let's look at another example of a slash chord. So, and that example is going to be D over F sharp. Of course, we have looked at this chord before as well. Let's consider maybe like how it can actually be put into context. So, you know, I'm playing my G. I want to go to A, E minor. Or I'm on E minor. I want to come to G. So this is where the fluidity or the smoothness in transition comes in. See? So our D over F sharp, so it's the D chord with that. As you have this note here, sometimes instead of using this, you can have these two fingers split. F sharp, you have your A here, you have your D note here, and then the A note again here, and then so it's like the A chord here, D chord, and slash chords are also to be played gently, or if you're to be percussive, or to pick the notes, you want to pick the notes specifically, the notes that you want. Unlike that, otherwise they disappear into that, you know, that too much. Like that. So that D over F sharp gives that smooth transition. Another one that of course we've looked at is a G over B. So it's a G chord but with the B in the root. So it can be this, it can be simply this, it can just be that. Right? Then we can also, of course, look at G flat, B flat, rather G minor over B flat. So B flat here, and then the G chord. Right? There. So those are some of the examples. So let's look at this exercise, the one that I played in the intro. And of course, I'll play it a bit differently. Or you can stick to the original way of playing it first until you get it. If you're well conversant with reading music, of course it will be much easier. But if you're not, you can, simply follow the way I'm going to play it. So I'll play it first the way it is written. Then you can also play around with it and give it a different feel. So from C, so C to B, G over B, to G flat, or rather to G minor over B flat, to A minor 7, to G over C, to G, like that. And of course, after you master it, you can now try to tweak it and see how. Yeah, like that. I think from that you can hear that smooth descending bass line and how beautiful it sounds. Yeah, so you want to try some of these, apply them in your day-to-day playing, in your compositions, in your writings, in your productions, and make beautiful music. Like I always say, listen to good music. Listen to good music because it shapes the musician that you become. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, and leave me a comment. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how I can be of help. And see you in the next lesson.